Welcome back to Femgineer's Confident Communicator course introductory video series. I'm Purnima Vijay Shankar, the founder of Femgineer and one of the instructors for the course. In this video, you're going to get a chance to meet Deepika Goel, who is a technical lead. Deepika participated in the Confident Communicator course in 2018. As a technical lead, Deepika gets tasked with pitching people and having to give presentations. Now, prior to taking the course, she struggled with engaging audiences, structuring her content, and creating pitches that weren't one-dimensional. In this brief video interview, you're going to learn from Deepika how she has learned to engage audiences, why structuring content has become a cinch for her, and how she moved past those one-dimensional pitches. Thanks for joining us today, Deepika.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you're a technical lead. Why not just dive deeper into the technical skills? Why do you think public speaking and presentation skills are important for you in your role as a technical lead?
Well, as a technical lead, you're actually the bridge between the business and the technical folks in your company. So you need to understand what the scope is, and you also need to understand the technical vision of the company. So you are, in fact, the communicator on what the requirements are and how to get it done from the most qualitative perspective. So you need to speak two languages, and in fact, sometimes multiple languages, because there is the business, the product owners, the UX people, the QA people, and of course, your technical folks as well.
Yeah. And had you received any training prior to the Confident Communicator course on presentation skills or public speaking?
Not really, no.
Yeah. So why did you think about taking our course as opposed to the number of other ones out there that are focused on public speaking and presentations?
Actually, there are two reasons behind that. The first one is one of my colleagues actually took your course and she was a huge fan. So she flew in from California to do her presentation at the office. And this was the first time I was meeting her, and I was so impressed on my own that I actually walked up to her and introduced myself. And I asked her that, you are really good at this, can you give me some tips? And she actually told me that she did this course with you. And the second reason is I had got a lot of feedback from my managers to look into these books and watch these videos. But I felt like if I did a live course, you would be able to give me live feedback that I could implement. You could actually focus on me as an individual rather than me reading just a bunch of blogs and not really having any direction.
Yeah, so that feedback is really valuable. And I remember you mentioning that you wanted help with engaging audiences. Why do you think that that was important for you? And what was your approach prior to the class?
So I honestly find it super weird when I go to a meeting where 25% of the crowd is on their phone. The other percentage is actually multitasking on their computers, or some of them are snoozing off. I feel it's not really good for the presenter, and also a lot of information is lost. Mm-hmm. The reason you're having a meeting, a pitch, a demo is basically you want to share something, right? So I really wanted a lot of engagement from people. So earlier I didn't have a strict technique, but the way I used to do it was ask questions. So I knew people were actually listening. But I guess I learned a lot more in the course.
Yeah. And how did you, or why did you think that the course would help you with engaging your audience?
That is something that I mentioned initially as well. I felt my pitches, my presentations were very one-dimensional. Mm-hmm. When you're trying to say something, you have to say it in different ways. The UX people understand a different thing versus the product one versus the technical people. Mm-hmm. So as you taught me really well on how to attract the right audience and what to say exactly to what audience, I was able to drive a lot more engagement.
Yeah. So what were the results that you saw in terms of engagement once you implemented the techniques we taught in the course?
I feel there is not one specific scenario, but I feel it's every day for me now. Mm-hmm. When I have these architectural brainstorms with cross-team folks, which is 12 people together in a meeting, those are very productive meetings, and they include our stakeholders at moments and people from different domains. And we're actually able to focus on a problem and talk end-to-end about what we need, how we need, and why we need. It's not just about technology, right? Because you are doing the technical thing for a purpose. So that way we are able to talk more about the purpose and get to the solutions. And everybody is benefiting from that conversation. So that really helps.
Yeah, well, that's awesome to hear that it helps you in your day-to-day. That's ultimately the goal, is to have those day-to-day interactions be productive and certainly enjoyable. So I know another challenge or an area that you said it was challenging for you was structuring the content of your talks. So what was your approach to structuring content before the course?
So sometimes I used to do these slide presentations where I would have a bunch of slides where I would show like before, now, and future. But then again, they were very minimalistic. Like it didn't have a lot of depth to it. It was because you don't put a lot on the slide, right? You're talking most of it. That's where I felt like people were not really getting it. They were sort of zoning out. So now I feel that is something I've learned from this course on like how to phrase to the right audience. So now when I go to a meeting, I feel more comfortable. I know the people, what they want to hear, how they want to hear, and how can they really understand. So that really helped.
Yeah, so structuring the content in a way that was going to resonate with the audience that you knew and tapping into what exactly that they were looking for. That's good to hear. Yeah. So I know, so finally, I know you mentioned that you wanted to move past those like one-dimensional pitches. Can you give us an example of maybe one of those one-dimensional pitches and then how the course helped you transform them?
I remember I had a one-dimensional pitch when we built this amazing functionality on our platform about taking some non-adaptive queue-bank piece. And I did a demo with all the stakeholders where I was demoing the functionality end-to-end. And people looked at it, they were happy, they smiled, sure. But then when I look back, I felt what was really missing was I didn't really sell why we did this. It was all about this amazing functionality, but what was the purpose of that functionality? That depth was really missing. So today, in fact, I had a meeting where in front of all the stakeholders, where we were talking about the advantages of merging certain teams and stuff like that. So all I focused about in that meeting was why we did this and what is the next step. So it was more actionable, more concrete, and not so much about the process around it.
Yeah, so it was good to have some motivation behind the topic and not get too into the weeds, and that helped you engage your audience. That's good. That's good to hear. Now, do you think you would have been able to accomplish all of this on your own or gotten the same results?
Like I had mentioned earlier, I could have read books, blogs, but nobody was really giving me that feedback. So the main advantage I felt with this course was that you and Karen gave me great feedback, very honest, constructive feedback. And in fact, there were other people like giving us feedback as well, because a lot of them are technical, in fact, most of them. So there was a way to connect and have that trust in each other, which I couldn't have gotten by reading any article or a book,
Sure. Yeah, and it's good to see other people and how they do things as well, and that you're all kind of growing and evolving together. So that's good to hear. Now, I know for people in our audience, they might be thinking, how do you plan to use this new set of skills? I know you mentioned using them in meetings and everyday settings. Are there other things that you're gearing up to do? Any presentations or talks coming up?
I have a lot of presentations at work itself, a lot about the architectural visions, and we have the platform vision going on right now. One other way I see this is an opportunity to help my team members as well. So I keep motivating them to sort of follow your techniques, where even a little bit like when you do a technical demo, just don't talk about the functionality, talk about the crux. Why are you doing this? What are you helping the company for,
Yeah.
So I feel there's an opportunity to use your tips in every domain. There is not a specific talk that I need to go to.
Sure. Nice. So I know there's going to be a lot of people in our audience watching this, and they're going to be thinking, oh, Deepika could make all these changes because she was a technical lead and she's already got a lot of practice doing presentations inside of the company, right? They may be on the fence to take the course. So why would you recommend taking the course?
I highly recommend everyone to take this course. I think most importantly, it creates a very safe environment for you to actually focus on your flaws. You can actually speak out what you're thinking, what are your questions. You can actually demo and get feedback where you would hesitate in front of maybe your teammates because you think somebody's going to laugh at you or mock you. But here I feel it's a very safe environment to get constructive feedback for your own individual growth.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. Thank you so much, Deepika. This has been wonderful to hear your progress, and thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
Yep. Thank you, Purnima.
Yeah. Well, that's it for this video. And as you've heard from Deepika, if you're on the fence about taking the course, consider doing it because, as she mentioned, it's a great place to have a safe haven to kind of work through some of those flaws, get the feedback that you need, and to make progress in your public speaking and presentation skills, which you can go on to use in everyday sittings. So consider participating in Femgineer's Confident Communicator course to improve your public speaking skills. Ciao for now.